Hey Melanie, hope you're having fun at your bachelorette party. Jessica wanted me to answer a few questions, so I'll get right into it. What is Melanie's favorite drink? Melanie's favorite drink is for a mixed drink, gin and soda, and for beer, I would say cider kind of falls in that category. It'd be Strongbow. So I'd say those are definitely her top drinks. What is her go-to karaoke song? Melanie's go-to karaoke song from all the karaoke that we've done definitely has been "I Want It That Way" by the Backstreet Boys, and she knows it very well and sings it loud every time. So it's definitely her go-to. Where was your first date? Melanie and I's first date technically was a study day at the library studying for B-Law. I don't think we studied a whole lot. We mostly talked. We hit it off right away. After the fact, after we kind of got together, Melanie mentioned that night she'd been wearing a Colorado sweater, which I hadn't really taken too much note of. But she mentioned that she had worn the sweater with the sole purpose of it being a conversation starter, which I thought was kind of funny. Our first official date, I would say, we went to the zoo, walked through the Chinese gardens, and it was a great time. Who said "I love you" first? Who said "I love you" first? I believe I did. I was on the way to the cabin for the first time, and I had actually gotten into a car accident and rear-ended someone, and my car was pretty much totaled. The tow truck came before the police, and it was pouring rain. I texted Melanie that she didn't need to come and that I would meet up with her later, and just because the weather was so miserable and it was a tough situation. And I was waiting for the police to arrive in the tow truck cab, and all of a sudden I see Melanie's car pull up and Melanie hop out of the car and just run to the tow truck in the pouring rain and hop in the cab right alongside me, just soaking wet from the rain. And that's kind of the first moment where I really realized that I really love this girl, and I told her, I think that night, that I loved her. And yeah. Who was eyeing who first? I think I was eyeing Melanie first, for sure. We had a few classes together at St. Thomas, and I remember I was always looking for an opportunity to kind of get into group work with her, whether that be a project or just some daily assignment, so I would have an excuse to get her number, or at least talk or communicate with her. I'd seen her at the bars previously. Thought she was pretty cute. And finally in B-Law, we finally were able to get into a project group together, and I immediately asked for a number just because, everyone needs to get their group members' numbers for communication. And I immediately added her on Snapchat right away. Who is a better cook? While we both like cooking, I do think Melanie's slightly a better cook. She has a little bit more experience than I do, and I know that she really enjoys it, and it's just great that's something that we can kind of both enjoy. But in terms of skill, I think Melanie's a little bit more talented than I am. What food could Melanie not live without? A few foods Melanie could not live without include coconut, crepes, I'd say any vegetable, Kit Kats, mango. There's a few other foods, but those are the main ones that come to mind. How many children does Melanie want to have? Melanie wants to have either 2 children, both sisters, or 3 children, one boy who's the oldest, and 2 sisters. The 2 sisters part is very important, of course. We'll see what happens. What is Melanie's biggest pet peeve? Let me list a few that came to mind. First, throwing her things to catch, whether that's like a remote or a food item or really anything. Doesn't really like that too much. Leaving dishes in the sink instead of putting them in the dishwasher. They shouldn't soak. Just scrub them up and put them in the dishwasher. Moving her toothbrush when she doesn't know it. When I sometimes leave empty food packaging in the pantry. The fact that my internal clock is always running 4 minutes late, so that I'm late by 4 minutes or something around there to kind of most of the events and deadlines, which Melanie sets and wants us to get to. So I know that's frustrating for her. Very evident. When I forget to tell her about a conversation which I've had with somebody, when it involves plans we've made or are making, happens sometimes. When I get hot in the middle of the night and I throw the entire weighted blanket on top of her, she's not a big fan of that as too much. When she has to wait for me to tie my shoes, which, according to some people, takes an abnormally long amount of time. So it remains debatable, but I know that's something that sometimes bugs her. There are other ones, but those are the main ones that come to mind. What is Melanie's least favorite housework task? I'd say sweeping for sure. And I don't mind sweeping, so it works out great. She does a great job doing all the other housework chores, and she enjoys them, but for some reason doesn't like sweeping. What is the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to Melanie in public? I would definitely say probably the Cabo incident where both our phones got fried in the ocean, but that blame doesn't really fall on her, as I was kind of setting the pace in terms of drinking, and she couldn't really keep up just because she's a smaller person, especially then. And we had 1-for-1 Long Island's for a good portion of the day on St. Patrick's Day, and it ended with me going into the ocean to go to the bathroom, and Melanie following me in, getting swept off her feet, and then me hearing someone behind me shout, "Hey, does anyone know this girl?" And Melanie was clinging to the side of a taxi boat for her dear life, with the fanny pack holding her phones completely submerged in the ocean. She was pretty devastated, and it was a pretty funny moment, but we still laugh about it today. So that's all the questions that Jessica had for me to answer. I hope all you girls have a great time at the bachelorette party, and looking forward to getting married, Melanie. You guys have a fun day.